Hey there, everybody. Give me 1 second here while I tag in Aaron's video, which will work on the first try because oh, and it did it. See, I'm just tempting fate. Now, I'm curious here. If we hop over, yeah, see, I've got these scenes. I've always had scenes. It's just that I usually don't have them. Now, of course, this is one that I was using before. So it's got all the literary tarot stuff in here. So now I'm thinking I could put something else down here. Browse. What could I put in here? Just for lack of anything. Now let's go. Oh yeah, yeah, yep. We absolutely need Cappy in here. Yep. So how about ooh. I've got so many. I just found so many arts. How about oh wow. I was like, where do I keep my art? Oh no, wait. I'm sorry. It's because that's on my end. Stop it. Stop it. Okay, sorry everybody. There, now everybody can hear Aaron. Don't.
I'm sorry.
That's
I'm sorry.
gaslighting.
I
That's pretty funny though. The thing is, it's funnier on a stream that isn't normally plagued with technical difficulties.
it's true, and I mean, we can maybe wait for the stream to start up a little bit more, but Pat, you and I had a team meeting yesterday with everybody else here at Eladin, and at the end of the meeting, uh, I said, Pat, real beef, I do not have a bit for you today, and I promise you and I promise the chat, I do not have a bit for you today, and that includes I did not ask somebody else to come in with a bit or intrude with a bit. So that will be the last troll that I do on today's stream. Let's aim for some sincerity today.
Well,
Let's change of pace.
the thing is, this is something I wanted to talk about. See now, oh boy, this is going to be hard for me because right now I'm putting different graphics in here at the bottom. I did not have anything picked out in terms of graphics, so now I'm just in here like trolling around in my various graphic folders. Here's one that is called social media pictures. So I'm gonna use this one. It's just in a folder, which I love. I love this weird frog.
It's a really great frog.
It's
I actually have that. I've had that same frog in my gifs and memes folder from before I worked here, so that makes me feel very good.
Yep. I mean, I knew that we were a good fit together. Also, ooh, here's a folder called Nate Art, where I'm going to tag in. See, I don't know if that'll fit though. The problem is a lot of these are like not sized appropriately, but I do like this piece of art. Oh, so that one's
Just put it
sized.
over my face. Just do it. That's the moneymaker. Ooh,
So
that's fun.
yeah, this
I like
is
that.
Nate doing Christmas card stuff for us.
That's very fun.
But see now here, these are not like appealingly. I need it all across the bottom. I need one more.
Hmm.
What is this? I think
This is like Cappy and his
Cappy and
and his
friends.
court. Cappy and his
Cappy and his
friends.
court. Oh my god. And maybe
Midwinter cards. Nate's in the chat. Hey Nate, how you doing?
yeah, midwinter cards. We did not want to be too specifically Oh, can I put in a GIF here? Is this
It's
even
Jife.
Jive? Sorry,
Jife.
sorry. It's more like Peter Pan. That's a peanut butter joke, everybody.
I'll have it for you in a Jifey.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Can you put a GIF in?
I can.
Can you put a Griffin? That's so. Is that Moana?
It
Hell
is.
yeah.
Now,
Yes.
so here's how we're leading off today's stream. Now, I want to put, I don't want to occlude Moana too much. But I do want to put, I don't want, so how about this? This is, and the thing is, we'll imply that all of these things tell a story in sequence.
I love that. Like Cappy's court includes Auli Cravalho's Moana, because why not?
Because why not?
It's like Thanos and his Black Order. There's Cappy and his hat. There's Moana and the power of the sea and the angry toad. And like they all have different powers, but it's that issue hasn't come out yet, so people just speculate.
Okay, so now there. Okay, now I'm not saying that now all of these are slightly overlapping in slightly wrong ways, and I'm not saying that I don't. Also, I've got to resize you, Aaron. I'm sorry, because your top of your head is cut off, and it's just.
You're
troubling.
going to cut me down to size, is what you're going to.
Is that the term that is that how the kids say it these days?
Well, in the last meeting, you did keep shouting off with his head, and I thought it was a bit, and I was like, I thought we weren't doing bits today.
So now I'll go here. There you are. Okay. Now you look bigger than me. That sort of resolves a power dynamic issue.
I'm not at all.
Okay. Also, this one needs to go. Okay, there, it's on top. Yay. Okay. Hey, everyone. There. That happened. Now you get to see how the sausage gets made. But here is, see, it does bother me right now that Moana is walking this way, but the other people are walking this way. It looks like they're running towards each other.
To a meeting.
Yeah.
Can you flip the midwinters so it looks like they're following Cappy?
Okay. No, I think what it is is this Toad Cappy's sidekick? I think accountant is very good.
That's why it's very unhappy at all the times.
Yeah, because Cappy fucking doesn't know how to do QuickBooks.
No, and Cappy gets a lot of passive revenue streams that are just cash under the table for favors.
Yeah.
Oh, praise Cappy.
Praise Cappy. Praise Cappy. Everybody gets to talk about how much they love Cappy.
If this is your first time to the stream, we're sorry.
We should have some sort of command that says I'm new here. And then the bot replies, sorry. And that's
Sorry.
it. It doesn't explain anything.
I should also specify, I realized I was wearing this shirt last week and I'm wearing it this week, and it says, let Diego Luna touch Jabba. And those words have meaning and nobody knows what it is. Diego Luna, when he was hired for Rogue One, was obsessed with Jabba the Hutt and just was like, I want to touch Jabba. Can you imagine what Jabba feels like? And it was ridiculous. And one of my favorite websites, Super Yaki, made this shirt, and I was like, I need to have it. So I'm sorry if you read my shirt and you're like, what the hell is happening? But I assure you, it's all based on fact.
I do like sort of shirts that, or I used to wear shirts that sort of proclaimed my geek allegiance.
Sure.
And a lot of times, it was nice because if you are flying your colors, then you get to say like, hey, I really love Firefly. And everyone's like, I love Firefly too. And although with Firefly, it's sort of like, more like shared pain, and you're refugees from the same country. I've heard they're rebooting it. Did you know about that?
I've heard rumors of it. I'm in the camp where I'm like, just let it be. Just let it be now. It's fine.
At this point, I had such a desperate hope for a long time. I actually wrote a blog like ages ago, which was like, which was, some, because I would answer more like emails on, like people would say, what would you do if you won $1 million or whatever. And
Reboot Firefly.
yeah, although it would cost so much more than $1 million, but I'm like, and I also knew that like I didn't know as much about Hollywood. And the way Hollywood works is they might have a great show and then cancel it for so many reasons. But then just because they cancel it doesn't mean that they don't want to own it forever.
Yeah.
And so my thought was like, well, if they didn't want it enough to keep it on the air, I'll buy the rights and then we'll take it to some place that'll love it. And now I'm like, oh no, the big thing Hollywood wants to avoid is anyone else being a success or themselves looking like a failure. Like that's the actual priority queue. And so, yeah, Feather Quill, you have to just watch, just check it out. Like, I always said if I ever taught a creative writing class, I would use the pilot in the creative writing class because it is a stunning examination of everything that you can do in a story so efficiently. Like 9 characters are introduced in great detail. There's interpersonal conflict and relationship. You get a world established subtly and beautifully. It's amazing. But yeah. And I did. I taught a creative writing class, and I'm like, okay, you're gonna watch this, you're gonna like it. Everybody, we're gonna talk about how good this is. Look at it. I know you're writing novels. I don't care. Look at Firefly. Anyway.
Hell of a pilot.
Hell of a pilot. So now Aaron here has brought up the fact that he does not have a bit. And what I wanted to talk about.
And bits are not required. It's just something that organically happened.
What happened what happened, because like I did, and I gotta stress this to you, Aaron, like I was gonna reveal Cappy to you, right? And I was kind of making a bit of a joke about it and whatever. It's like I had not planned necessarily like this elaborate rollout of Cappy. And you were like, I can't believe like you did this, like you did, and you made this and whatever. It's like, it's that I was goofing off with Julia and we worked on Cappy's art. And, she was like this. And I'm like, oh yeah. But also, and then she would do like a more refined version of it. And I'm like, and we're like, oh my God, this is funny. And then we would refine it. So I just rolled those drafts out to you. I didn't say make 4 versions of Cappy so I can fuck with Aaron. It's just how it turned out. Right. It's just how it turned out. I want to be clear. Now, I love that you thought that I had like laid this elaborate trap for you. But, and this is also to make it clear to the chat that like, I did not put 5 hours of like prep into just screwing with Aaron.
That makes me feel a little bit better. Okay. But also worse because of what happened next.
Well, and then because Aaron had done a few little things, and obviously like he wrote up a little bit, before and I'm like, oh wow, he like did a thing. That's cool. And that's fun. But and then and what came before the eye patch?
We'd done like the fake ad reads.
The fake ad reads, but there was another bit that you busted out that kind of floored me, and then you did. Oh no, it was time travelers, and then there was fucking Sebastian, right? And so like it was just like this. But also at one point during our stream, I was like, "There's a squirrel," and you're
That's
like,
right.
and you're like, "I don't, I don't know if this is a
Don't
bit. I
believe
don't,
you.
I don't believe you." So here's a story that I'm going to tell you because I'm assuming you're a fan of Penn and Teller, right?
Big fan.
Big
Yeah.
fan. It's hard to not be a fan of Penn and Teller. And I where's my hold on. I'm gonna do this, right? I'm gonna be like, well, actually there, that's
Oh,
my
dad glasses.
yeah, that's my
There we go.
no, that's my back in the day. I knew I was a fan of Penn and Teller way back in the day. Back when they produced a book, two books actually. One of them was How to Play with Your Food, and the other was Cruel Tricks for Dear Friends. And they talked about, and like they're like, here's a bunch of funny little jokes you can do just yourself, or like little magic tricks. Here's how to do a force. Here's how to do a reveal. And they were really great books. But also in there was like little essays, and one of them was from Penn talking about what he thought because he goes, a lot of people do practical jokes and it's just an excuse to be mean. And he's like, he goes, and he told, and this isn't the story I'm telling, this is the preface to the story. This isn't the greatest song in the world, mind you.
Well done. Thank you.
Oh
Thank you,
no.
Jack.
Oh no, this is just a tribute. But yeah, Penn is the big one who talks. But he was talking about like way back in the day, he was hitchhiking somewhere, which also shows like what time frame he comes from. He's of the generation, about half a generation older than me. And he's like, I was in this truck stop and I stopped and I was having food and they had Jell-O on the menu. And he goes, and so I got some Jell-O and it's like 40 cents. And he's like, I haven't had Jell-O in forever. It was like cherry Jell-O. And he's like, and they brought a little thing of Jell-O and I ate it. And he's like, fuck, I love Jell-O. I haven't had Jell-O in forever. I used to love this as a kid. Why haven't I had Jell-O? And then he gets really excited in a way that I understand. And he calls the waitress over and he's like, I want to buy, and he's like, looks around this little truck stop diner and there's like 8 people in there. And he's like, I want to buy Jell-O for everyone here. And
Okay.
she's like, what? And he's like, I want to order 8 Jell-Os. Could you just charge me and take a Jell-O to everyone here? And she's like, no. That you're weird. No, I'm not letting you buy people Jell-O. And he's like, and he's like, you can't stop me from buying Jell-O for people. And she's like, I don't have to do this. You're a pervert of some sort. And, or well, she didn't say that, but like the implication is like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You don't just
Sure.
buy
I
people
mean,
food.
usually it's Jello shots, not just Jello.
Yeah.
When you're ordering for other people.
And so he's like, okay, fine. Just him. And there's this guy up at the counter and he's like, I want, just that one guy. I just want to buy one. And she's like, fine. And she does it. And then then she leaves and he's like, is this weird? And he's like, fuck, it is kind of weird. And also the person he had singled out sitting by himself is like this old, like he's a trucker, obviously, like getting some food and he's like this big guy. And like, again, Penn is a big guy, but Penn is a pacifist, like philosophically a pacifist, and is pretty gentle in a way that you almost have to be a really big guy to be gentle, because a lot of people try to pick fights with you when you're a big guy, and you really, if you're not into it, you're super not into it. But also he's like 20 something. He's just on the road. He's a hippie. And then he's like, and he watches the waitress like take the Jell-O to this like old, like grizzled fucking like baseball cap, like pulled down low, having his coffee at the counter guy. And so he sees this person like give him the Jell-O, and he's like this, and she points at Penn, and he looks over, and Penn is like, I fucked up. You know, like, what if this was not a good idea? And then he sat and he ate the Jell-O, and then he stood up and started to walk over to Penn. He's like, well, I guess this is how I'm getting my ass beat today. And he comes over and he's like, I haven't had Jell-O in 30 years. He goes,
You've unlocked my heart.
and he's like, my mom used to make me Jell-O, and I haven't thought about that in a long time. And he goes, what's your name, kid? Actually, that's how he started. What's your name, kid? And he's like, Penn. And he's like, I haven't had Jell-O in like 35 years. He goes, my mom used to make it for me, and it was very sweet, and she hasn't been in the world for a long time. And he goes, this was a real nice thing. He goes, next time I stop for dinner, he goes, I'm going to buy somebody some Jell-O, and I'm going to tell him it's from Penn. And it's like, and it's this beautiful story, because there's like everything you want. There's some tension, there's some drama, there's conflict, the threat of somebody getting their ass beat,
the thrill of violence.
The thrill of violence, but also, you know, it's a reveal of like, it's like, oh no, I'm not in the right place for this. This person is not my sort of people. But it also, what I really love this story is it shows that like people are good, you know, and you can't judge people. You can judge people, but you shouldn't. But Penn used this story, and he's like, that was part of my journey towards realizing what I wanted to bring into the world. And what I wanted to bring into the world is unexpected strangeness and delight. Now he does, I am paraphrasing wildly because I haven't read this essay in 20 years. But he's like, this is as close as I come to a practical joke. He goes, I don't want somebody to think, oh no, my child is in a coma. That's not a joke, right? It's somebody experiencing like wonder. I think he used that term as wonder. And this kind of got built into my own personal philosophy, where I'm like, I do want people to experience wonder and joy and delight and appreciate the ridiculousness of life, because there's only two kinds of humor. And one of them is laughing because somebody got hit in the nuts. And the other is the appreciation of the ridiculousness of the world. And 98% of humor is laughing because something terrible happens to someone else, unfortunately. And Schadenfreude. I mean, every joke that's like an American, a German, and a Polish guy walk into a bar, or like, you know, there's a rabbi and a priest and a atheist or something, you know.
Why are all these people hanging out together for so many jokes?
Right. And unlikely maths. And then his ass fell off. It's like, yes, nothing bad. I mean, technically something bad happens. That's not the point of, that's not what make that story funny. What it is it's like at the end of it, you're like, what? And if you are sort of in tune with the fact that everything is ridiculous, everything becomes funny and joyful. And if you don't believe me, watch the Dalai Lama do anything. I once watched the Dalai Lama talking with a bunch of Buddhist nuns, and one of them is this very, very old woman, like so old I could not guess. So old where it's like the term's like ancient. It's like not merely elderly. Ancient was the applicable term. And he's like, and he's showing up, and everyone's like, holy fuck, we get to see the Dalai Lama. And he's just like, hey, I'm here because you're important and I want to talk to y'all. And he's like, how are you doing? And she goes, not so good. I think I'm at the end of it all. I just don't feel like eating anymore. And he laughs. And he goes, well, you have to eat. And I went, the thing about Buddhism, pure Buddhist detachment, it removes you from the world and therefore removes you from suffering. Because this is in many ways like a sad thing this woman is saying. She's not looking for sympathy. She's not looking for pity. He's like, how are you doing? And you don't fucking lie to the Dalai Lama. And so, and she's like, I'm just so tired and my body hurts and I think I'm kind of at the end and I just don't want to eat anymore. And he laughs. He's not laughing at something bad happening. He is laughing because how silly is everything, right? And nobody gets that better than him, and therefore nobody laughs as easily at everything as the Dalai Lama. He is so full of joy. And this is something I always used to strive for. And I've really fallen from that path because it used to be easier to care less when I had less power, or ability to influence things, or was in charge of employees or a charity. And, I have kind of chained myself to the earth, and I am shackled by caring. And good things result from that. But, the Dalai Lama does it. Penn does it. The McElroys, I once read Justin McElroy's Twitter bio, and he says, I want to bring more harmless delight and joy into the world. And I'm like, fuck, that's why I love your show so much. This is humor that hurts no one. And that is rare. And so anyway, there's all of that. I took a little tangent from my tangent, which should be the title of my autobiography. But now to bring it back to Penn and Teller, the other story they tell, Aaron, do you know about the parsley game?
No, but I can imagine.
So here's the parsley game. And this also kind of dates a lot of things because back in the day, all you young kids here on my stream,
Back when Twitch was just in TV. back when you would watch this on the Real Player.
back when Twitch was a radio and you were glad to hear the Lux like soap, the Luxo.
Yeah, keep going.
I'm trying to think. They're actually, Lux soap was the product, and like Danny Kaye did a radio show.
Danny
fucking Kaye, right? And he showed up in this radio show as a cameo, and all everybody did is make fun of him because how fucking famous he was. They're like, well, fucking Danny Kaye is here. And I'm like, oh, they're salty. They're glad to have him, but they're not giving him an inch in this place. Anyway. It used to be almost universally, when your food was served to you in a restaurant, there was a little sprig of parsley, and that's how you knew that you were eating at a high class establishment. Yep. By which I mean almost any establishment, because a garnish was something that would start at like a fancy restaurant, and then like every diner is like, well, fuck, if all it takes to be fancy is like a penny's worth of parsley, we'll put that on a plate too. Now, the purpose of it, of course, is if you eat a certain food and you eat the parsley at the end, it will like sweeten your mouth and freshen your breath. By the way, this stream is brought to you by the American Parsley Council. Remember, it's not hard to parse how much parsley you need in your life.
That was really good. Really good.
I'm actually really proud of that. Anyway, so the parsley game that Penn and Teller developed and played with their friends, because again, remember, Penn and Teller are first and foremost magicians, stage magicians, and sleight of hand masters. And so the game was the point of the game was to get the parsley from your plate onto your friend's plate without them seeing.
Okay.
And so, of course, they're all sleight of hand experts, you know, and they're all, but much more importantly, a lot of these people are magicians, which means they are masters of misdirection, and like all of the pieces of human psychology that are meant to like kind of fuck with people professionally. And so, you know, at first, and he tells the story, he goes, at first it's easy because, you know, you look over somebody's shoulder and you're like, oh, hey, and they turn around and look, and then they turn back and the parsley's on your plate and you're like, haha, and you're like, fuck. Or you just like, you do a simple like pass and you do a little sleight of hand. But if they're watching you and they see, and they're like, I saw that, and you're like, fuck yeah, you got me. But then, so like, then it's the easy ones, or you're like, and then it evolves into the second generation where it's like, you just wait till they go to the bathroom. You don't have to be active. You just wait till they go to the bathroom and then they come back. And you're like, so then, but what this means is then once this happens, you're like, okay, fuck. And then you either can't go to the bathroom or you have to take your fucking plate of food to the bathroom with you.
Which is, it doesn't happen a lot in America.
Yeah. But also, this is just still the beginning, because then eventually you go and you start, you go to the waiter and you're like, hey, so here's the thing. I'm kind of doing a joke on my friend. When you bring out their hamburger, can you just put a bunch of parsley in the hamburger? Here's $5. And so they're watching you like a hawk. You wave to somebody and they don't turn around. And then their food comes out. And they take a bite of their hamburger and there's parsley in it. And you're like, ha ha, ba, 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 ba. And they're like, fuck. Yeah. And then they realize, I've got to up my game. And he goes, here's the thing. This game was a lot of fun and it really stretched us in terms of figuring out like how we could do these jokes to each other. He goes, it also guaranteed that none of us ever enjoyed a meal together, ever. And we realized that we needed to stop this game when like 3 of us were having dinner in a restaurant in New York and a car crashed through the wall. And none of us looked away from our plates. And because everyone assumed that somebody else had set up a car crashing. Yup. In order to win the fucking parsley game. And so as soon as you, and this was before Sebastian, mind you, this is before, you know, so when I'm like, oh, squirrel, and you're like, what's the fucking angle on this squirrel? What is like, and this, you're not getting me, Rothfuss. I'm wise to your bullshit. I realized, I'm like, oh no, what we're doing is fun, but the unintended eventual end of this is the ruination of our trust and the trust
Paranoia.
of paranoia and like endless scheming, and also like the fact that we had to come up with a code word to say something true is also a signifier of potentially what like that this might be bad. So what I'm going to say is, when he said everybody, when Aaron said, yeah, I don't have a bit. And I'm like, good.
And I said real beef. I was like, I need to be honest with you. I'm very tired.
Yeah.
I don't have a bit for this week. And I just want it to be a stream.
Yep. And so I said, thank Christ, because emotionally I can't handle another event like Sebastian, but also it's healthy for us too. Like take a break, get some space, and also establish some expectations and guidelines and boundaries so that this doesn't effectively ruin the stream experience for other people, or the fact that like we enjoy hanging out together and we can start doing a fun thing that if we continue along a certain course, will potentially like ruin our enjoying it at best and potentially end in like bodily harm or like the ruination of our good relationship. So
And to be clear, there, I don't think at any point over the past like 3 or 4 months we've been like, hey, we really have to stop with the bits. This is just the organic, like, and to clarify, Pat, I do have bits I'd like to do in the future, but I also just want to have a break.
exactly. And here's the thing. One last story to illustrate my point, because that's just how I'm wired. The first time and the best time I ever saw Cirque du Soleil, I actually learned a lot about storytelling because it was before I was published. And I remember there were these feats of amazing physical, athletic, and gymnastic ability. Like these two bra dudes who are like just kind of lifting each other up in like weird, slow ways. It was like, that sounds so weird, but like trapeze acts and high wire works and like contortionists and things where it's like, if they fuck this up, someone gonna be real hurt. You know, and you're like,
It scares me to watch it sometimes because I am worried something's going to happen.
it is stunning displays of not merely competence. What's more than competence? Like physical excellence, you know, and them doing things in such a way that is dramatic and therefore creates tension. But the other thing that happened is it actually happened before the show even started. It was all this sort of phantasmagoria, like surrealist costuming, through a lot of it. But there was also a character who kind of looked like a slightly more cartoonish Albert Einstein. He was wearing a tuxedo. He had kind of wild hair and mustache. And when I say cartoonish, he was slightly exaggerated so that you could appreciate him visually from up in the cheap seats, right?
All right.
But he did still also, I mean, to be fair, like this is fairly, you can see this from the cheap seats as well. So he did not look necessarily in costume. He was just like expanded 20% in every direction. But because he was sort of in a tuxedo, and this was at like the Bellagio or something, because I saw this for my first time in Vegas, what would happen is he would, because I got my seat, and then you sit down, and you see that there's a spotlight trained on this guy, and as somebody comes in through the, I don't know, comes into the stadium or the auditorium, this huge theater, there are ushers that will help you find where the fuck you're supposed to go, because you don't know.
Yeah.
And so he's there, and he greets people coming in, and he holds out his hand, and they're holding their tickets. He takes their tickets, and he takes them, and he goes, ah. And he points, and he starts leading them off, and they follow him because he kind of could conceivably be an usher. And then he gets to a place, and then he looks at the place, and he looks at the ticket, and he goes, and then he points in a different direction, and he starts leading, and then he takes them all the way down by the stage.
It's clowning.
It's clowning, and it's literally clowning. And of course, like, you know, the real term for this. And then he goes down to the first row, and then he starts climbing across the rows of seats. And the people are fucked because he has their tickets. And
see, that's a good bit. That's a commedia dell'arte.
It's so good. Fun. It's so good. And then, like, after 3 minutes of this, he gets somewhere, And then he just like throws the tickets up in the air and he goes back to the entryway and he gets a new person. And it never gets old because those people get their tickets and they get a round of applause and they find their seats. They're fine. No real harm has been done. And then he does this again, and it is an evergreen bit, I tell you, because now the people who had it done to them, now they get to watch, and it's funny.
Yeah.
And so
there used to be something in it for the person that the bit is being done to.
Yep. And again, they are being inconvenienced, but they're not. They're being put in a. The thing is, this is slightly. You are laughing at these people being put in an awkward position, which is not great comedy, but it is so gentle and mild, and it was so brief and artfully executed that it's about as good as that sort of comedy can be. But then what would happen is in between all of these breathtaking, and I say that very deliberately, breathtaking feats of athleticism, daring do, gymnastics, where like you're like, this person might fucking die on this tightrope, or this person just did 3 flips and somebody else caught them and they are 50 feet off the ground, and you're just like, and you watch the whole, or for me even more intense, like the thing where there's these really just built guys, these gymnasts, and one of them bends down and with both feet on the floor, he puts his hand on the floor, and the other guy steps in his hand and he slowly and deliberately lifts the other man up and then over his head, and it's slow, and you're just like, oh, and then the other person does a handstand with one hand on that guy's hand, and you're like, and you're just like, and it's so tense. It's like no theater tense. And
Japanese no theater, correct?
Yes, Japanese no theater. And then it wraps up, and you're like, I need to catch my breath from what I just watched. And then the clown comes in and fucks around, and you laugh. And then you're like, okay, that's funny. And it lets you shed that tension, because if it was just a series of tense things, you have no more breath to take. And that's where I'm like, this is how pacing is important in a story.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You can't, that's why you don't have 2 action scenes in a row in a novel, or if you do, you're doing it very deliberately, but you need to let people catch their breath. So similarly, part of the reason is to maintain our relationship. Part of this reason is so that the people on the stream aren't constantly like, are we being fucked with? But also so that when we do a bit, everyone's like, yeah, of course it's a bit. Everything's a bit. We need these boundaries. So I think like we'll find a way to do that. I would welcome the opinion of like the chat on this, or our mods. If you're like, well, it seems like everybody, like, you guys should get 1 bit a month. Each of you get 1. And that way it's funny, but it doesn't get stale.
Sure.
And then people know that most of what we say can be trusted and it's real,
this story is bringing back so for those of you that don't know, I'm a classically trained theater person. I've been doing musicals since I was about 13. I went to a performing arts high school. I went to a conservatory for musical theater. That's what my degree's in. I traveled the country doing musical theater, and now I'm a community manager, and honestly it's awesome. But one memory that has stuck with me for years. I'm 35. I got this when I was like 21 or 22. At the end of a conservatory 4-year program, typically there's a showcase where they bring certain students to New York or LA, and you like try out for big studios, and you're put in front of executives, and they're like, this person, not that person, this person. And I was getting feedback for my showcase. Like, usually you put together like an hour-long showcase of like, this is who I am, this is my style, this is my vocal range, this is the kind of material that I can do. And one of the reasons I kind of got out of musical theater, which if I was 10 years younger, I think it'd be different. One of the reasons I got out of musical theater is I love traditional musicals. I love your Rodgers and Hammerstein. I love Sondheim. I love Kander and Ebb, all of them. And I was noticing like none of these shows are really for me. You know, I'm not gonna be like an ingenue. I'm not gonna be Cinderella. I'm not gonna be that like whoever the lead is in Carousel, right? And I'm definitely too young to play a lead in like Company or something. And I can't grow a beard, which means I can't be in Shakespeare. Something
You know,
I was
there's something
literally
called
told,
something called spirit gum. You know, like
Spirit gum. Yes, but I've legitimately been told after performing as Mercutio in several productions of Romeo and Juliet, you'll never do professional Shakespeare because you can't grow a beard. And I'm like, cool, great. I just got paid for it. Anyway. Um but in my senior showcase, I deliberately said I'm not going to do musical theater stuff. And I sang stuff like I Crush Everything by Jonathan Colton. I sang stuff from all of like I did an MC Frontalot rap for my senior showcase, and it was amazing. And everybody that I knew was like, "This is pure you. This is absolutely you. This is the best personification of who you are as a brand." Every single person that gave me feedback said, "This is glib," and I hate the word glib for that reason. This is a cartoon image of who you are, and none of this is marketable. And I hated it in such a way, and it stuck with me, right? So I know the importance of pacing, and I know the importance of needing to break up when you are kind of hammering home with here's the A part. You need to get a little B in there. You need to get a C part. That's why every popular song has an A, a B, a bridge, a C chorus, back to the A, all that stuff. Pacing is super, super, super important. But more than that, it's sincerity, right? That word glib kind of always hangs on to me as a lack of sincerity.
yeah.
And I think with you and I, even in the jokes, there's sincerity there because we're naturally having fun.
Yeah.
And there's like you can kind of see where the off ramp is. But I never want to get away from that sincerity. So in telling you yesterday, I don't have a bit. It's more like let's just have fun. Let's just do whatever.
Yeah, I love that. Now, also hearing you talk about music, you're like, well, you do this and you go like this, and I'm like, hold on, wait though, like, because I'm interested in music, in in the same way that I'm interested in magic, in that like it's cool, but I don't do it. I don't know how to do it.
I mean, that's writing. I have no idea how. I've seen you write, and I'm like, I couldn't do that. I don't know.
But somebody here in the chat said, "Will you sing for us?" But also, like at some point, we should, like, we should have a little panel where we talk about like how do music do, like I know a bunch of musicians because I like hanging out with cool kids and like hearing the different ways in which people think of music and make music would be like a fun, interesting panel. Also, I have to say, I think my favorite Jonathan Colton song is "I Crush."
Oh, we're doing this. It's a great song.
I Crush Everything. Yep.
And Pat, if that's your favorite song, I am going to assume that you, like me, we hear the melody of "I Crush Everything," and it's a very soothing melody. I mean, Joko's voice is just like butter, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you examine the lyrics, there's like his songs always have this sharp truth to them.
Oh yeah.
That are immediately relatable. It's like that, and "Blue Sunny Day" I think is really good with that. But man, "I Crush Everything." There's just something very true and relatable about. I don't want to get close to this thing because if I get close to it, I will ruin it. I can observe it from afar, but the moment I get too close, it crumbles, and it's my fault, and I need to get away. Oh,
I think it's sort of what you were talking about, which is whatever the opposite of glib is. You've mentioned sincerity. My touchstone is almost always earnestness,
Sure.
which they
Yeah.
are very close cousins. And I think in terms of in terms of art, like, and okay, and I'm also gonna say
Is this getting into a
no.
what is art discussion?
We're gonna like we're 3 minutes and we're done with this.
Okay.
Like we have to be done because we're not gonna do what is art today. But I do feel like some art is about things and some art is just whacking off.
Hmm.
And like Jonathan Colton's songs are about things. And like this is why I can never survive in modern academia because they don't believe in truth anymore. I think that there is something true occurring in all of Colton's songs. They are about something. Now, what they're about, there's probably many different fair reads of them, which again is an indicator of good art. I'm not saying you need that to have any art at all, but for the most long lasting, worthwhile, sustainable art can be enjoyed in several different ways. And then on the other side of it, you get like The Witcher, which is like
Sure.
tits and
Yeah, yeah.
killing people, which again, it's still art, it's
Still
entertaining.
very different cups.
It's a
Still very
not
different
it's
cups.
not about something. It's not about something.
It like The Witcher can be about certain things, but it's not about one specific vibe. I would make that argument. Like The Witcher is more entertainment, and Joko's songs are more than entertainment.
Yeah, but what do you call that thing that the art that is more than entertainment?
I like to call it eating your artistic vegetables.
Well, see, that implies that it's unpleasant, where that is my
No, because
favorite.
broccoli is amazing. I love broccoli.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think honestly that's where things would constantly go wrong with me dealing with Hollywood stuff. Art too. There's art and there's art too. There's super art.
Hyper art. This time, Dead Man's Chest. Some subtitle.
Is that like I'm like, hey, this story that I've told is about something, and they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Where do we? When does some dude get stabbed? uh, uh, that's a vast oversimplification, but I think there are people who are well, and actually, I think all artists are looking to entertain, but I am looking to entertain by talking about something. Joe Coe is looking to entertain by making music that is about something that has something real inside it. But like, you know, I don't know. It's and there's our 3 minutes. Sorry.
One thing that I will cop to, I will admit to, when I was traveling, I would meet several people that were like, I'm a singer, I'm a dancer, I'm a triple threat, or like there would be a another section of people that would just say I'm a performer. And a lot of people I knew would be like, you're a performer, but like what do you do? And they're like, well, I'm an entertainer. And there were people that would call themselves artists, quote unquote artists. It would be like, you're an entertainment or you're an entertainer, but do you make art? And they would look down on them.
Mm.
And like, I was in my early 20s. I was like, all right, that person's less than, right? But as time has gone on, especially last year during the pandemic, there is such a need for entertainment. There's such a need for stuff that allows you to kind of turn your brain off and just kind of have your eyes go into the back of your head and be like, this is just beautiful and glorious and stupid and I love it. And I don't think we give enough credit to that type of media. And I don't think I did when I was younger.
Mm.
But I would love to see people appreciate stuff that's not perfect, because it's an unfair barometer to put on all media to be like, okay, this was hilarious and funny and charming, but it'll never win Best Picture because it wasn't moody or
Yeah.
it didn't have these themes. And I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah. Also, thank you, Kiwi, for for using a praise Cappy to make me aware of the fact that Aaron's sound was a little quiet. Hopefully, I've adjusted it. But yeah, this is something I think about a lot.
This is kind of how these streams started. Like we got into a long conversation about art one night after work, and then it was like, should we stream?
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
the bits happened.
and then
So
the bits happened. Now I watch me not continue the discussion because I said I wasn't gonna. Now we're going to do the thing that we have talked about doing before, but we're really going to do it now.
when it's smart and true, it's like a 30-minute diatribe.
Unfortunately,
And that's
yeah,
so many clips.
yeah.
But also clip it. Try it. We'll do it.
I think sometimes we do say a short, smart thing. Sometimes, hopefully,
We
I hope.
stumble upon greatness
Yeah.
and then drunkenly amble into idiocy again.
Ambling towards idiocy does sound like the name of our podcast.
The podcast that we will never actually make, but we'll make a lot of titles. We should
Yeah.
just do a podcast that's like, we don't have a title yet. We're going to toss around titles, and it's 30 episodes of us being like, what about this?
Ambling Towards Idiocy is the podcast where we discuss Stephen King's movies. Yeah, that's right.
Today on Dreamcatcher.
I mean, I need everybody to acknowledge how good my joke was, because also it was
Yeah.
like a sucker punch for Aaron, because ambling towards, it's Amblin Entertainment, and everyone, I need y'all to acknowledge
Yeah.
that my joke
Yeah.
was very good. Anyway,
No, it was very Pat, you had a very good joke.
Thank
I'm
you. contractually
contractually obligated to say that you had a very good joke
It
every
is.
time you say a joke.
It's written into your employment contract. You used to play bass for Ambling Towards Idiocy. Yeah.
Ambling Towards Idiocy is the name of my ska punk band that only covers E.T.
So cool. King Killer Dex 1. Do we know who did that one?
Yes. That was clipped by Ether3, ETHRE3.
Ether 3, good job. I haven't seen you here in the chat, but you did a good clip. Who are the other two from? Just so we can call them out and give them credit where credit's due.
You know what? I don't want you to think I don't have that information, because I absolutely do, and I'm very good at my job. But I like to kind of like delay some of that information.
How about this? While you're in no way looking that up quickly, I am going to spool up Disco Elysium and play for time. Also, to be clear, everybody, and this will demonstrate that this is not a bit, we do not script this, because, which is always a baffler when people are like, how much of this did you work out ahead of time? I'm like, does it seem that together to you? Because it doesn't seem that way to me.
By the way, the top of the mitten clip was by Jacobe, JCKOBEH, and the other Batman clip was Julia Madalena.
Oh, Julia!
Superstar.
In there
Julia
swinging.
Madalena.
Thank you all for playing, and those of you that clipped and it you didn't make the cut. I mean, get good.
You didn't make the clip.
No, I appreciate all of you like doing that. It's fun. And I don't think we're always going to adhere to like which ones get the most views, because that is sort of tyranny through democracy. Because there can be quality clips that aren't there. So I'll also say, like, if the mods, not to put this burden of responsibility on them, if the mods, though, see a clip and they're like, this one was very good, they can throw it to Aaron as how about this, like honorable mention, or like from the mods,
And I
or
will say they're already very good at doing that.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
You literally have a channel for that? Okay, that's great.
Yep.
And so, like, maybe this is nice. This is a step. Ooh, Aaron, also, this is the thing we did to make the stream better this week, is to sort of codify.
Yeah, there's always one.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's like just baby steps towards sucking less, which is it's the name of my self-help book.
I was gonna say, what is it? What is it, Paul and Storm? Tell
Yeah.
us.